think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? You are showing me nothing.
Fires, Mike Sims, Walker, knocked down.
Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
In trouble, he's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him turn back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankles.
I have never seen this before in my life.
Still looking, firing, near corner. It's caught.
Denver, unbelievable.
And welcome to the Fourth Down Fiasco.
Hello and welcome to the Fourth Down Fiasco, your go-to podcast for all things football. I'm the breaking news night owl, Jordan Pryor, and with me are the rising stars of the podcast industry, the moneyline monster, Tanner Vinsky, and the statistics savant, Danny Weber. Say hello to the people, y'all.
Hey.
Hello.
As always, we ask that you rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, share it with your friends, and follow us on social media. We are at @4thdown_pod on Twitter. We refuse to call it X, and at Fourth Down Fiasco on TikTok and Instagram. If you're listening right now, tweet at us and let us know which free agent signee you are most excited to see in their new location. With that, today's rundown goes like this. No fan base fiasco. We will resume that later on, but with the number of signings that we had this past week, we are dedicating a whole pod to free agency news. And we know you love listening to us. So there were so many signings, as a matter of fact, that I thought we time traveled into NBA free agency because of how quickly things were changing. I had Ian Rappaport's notifications on my phone, and it felt like Shams and woes at the NBA trade deadline. Yeah. It was disgusting.
Yeah, I turned on Ian as well, and it was...
I had to turn my phone off because it just kept coming up. So with that, segment 1, we will look into the biggest winners of free agency, and it should be of no surprise that Dallas won't be on that list.
Not at all.
Stop. Yeah. Then in segment 2, we will look at the biggest losers of free agency with divisional outlooks and predictions of who we believe our top 3 choices for free agency signings will be as far as the next season. So with that, it is fourth down. It is goal to go. And this week, let's be fucking chaotic, bro. I am down. I think we're going to kick a field goal, and let's try something crazy like a flea flicker. I don't know, but how are y'all feeling? Let's do something crazy, right?
This free agency is crazy, so I'm riding with you on that one.
It's the wildest that I have seen it, at least in the past decade. I mean, yeah. I can't speak before that because, I was a child at that point. But, yeah, it's been wild. So, yeah, let's start off with biggest winners. Who do y'all have?
For whatever reason, I really like what the Giants did. I really like Brian Burns as a defensive tackle. I think he's one of the best edge rushers, or just kind of big defensive line kind of maulers in the NFL right now. And I think just trading away those assets to get him, what was it, a third and a fifth, right? It was nothing. So just getting him for that value, yeah, you had to extend him, but the defensive line in New York is just absolutely dog water. So that was huge for them. And I also love John Runyon as a guard, and that's something that they needed desperately. I'm not crazy about Singletary, but, they're kind of in a retooling period, whether or not they want to believe it or not. So he's fine for the next couple of years while they build up the rest of the pieces.
Fair enough. Daniel?
Yeah, I maybe not the best team, but I didn't expect them to do this. The Tennessee Titans, they brought in a new head coach, and they've had some pretty solid signings. They got Chidobe Awuzie from Cincinnati for 3 years, $36 million. They brought in Tony Pollard from the Cowboys, 3 years, $24 million. They brought in an O-line for $50 million for 4 years, and they signed another quarterback that we saw a little bit last year, Mason Rudolph, to compete with Will Levis. I didn't expect them to do as much as they did this offseason with all the changes they've had, losing Henry, cutting Tannehill.
And I mean,
So
they
maybe
gave
not number
Calvin
one
Ridley the
winners.
biggest bag ever, dude. Like,
What?
they gave Calvin Ridley that massive contract.
Oh yeah, and that that wasn't even I googled a list and he wasn't even on the list. But yeah, and then Calvin Ridley, they got their wide receiver one for $96 million.
So I'm going to go a little bit of against the grain. I know that as far as the number of signings that they had wasn't, it's not in comparison to some of the other teams, but the Atlanta Falcons, they improved incredibly. And I mean, obviously at the quarterback position, because instead of Desmond Ridder, now you actually have a competent quarterback in Kirk Cousins, which is, if we're being honest, Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan are the same quarterback. But I think that Darnell Mooney was really handicapped being in Chicago and being in the offensive system that he was in. He's a good chunk wide receiver. I think it's, what is it? 13.4 yards per reception. I mean, that's the kind of wide receiver that Kirk Cousins thrives with, along with, Charlie Warner as well, from San Fran. He didn't get a ton of playing time because, he's backing up George Kittle, the second best tight end in the NFL. And, because of that, he didn't have the stats to really back up who he is as a player, but he's also a chunk yards type of player. And so, they had I wouldn't say exceptional defense, but I would say a decent defense. And I think that Kirk changes the culture. He does have that presence of, he's been around the block. He knows how it goes. Me and my friends in our Twitter group chat, we were talking about, black people love Kurt Warner. He fits into a locker room, any locker room you toss him in. He's just fun. He's a cool guy. And, he's very non-judgmental. He's willing to mentor. He's just a really good presence that I think that any team would benefit from. And, you add those together along with, re-signing. I believe they re-signed a linebacker in their long snap. I don't know.
Yeah, Nate Landman and Liam McCullough.
Yeah,
And
they re-signed a couple of positions that, were doing really well. And so Atlanta's biggest weakness was definitely their offense. Again, their defense was competent. And
their defense really underperformed last year.
And the reason why their defense underperformed is because their offense sucked so much. Yeah. And I also heard on a Falcons podcast a couple of probably about a month ago or so, towards the end of the season, that at least these particular beat writers, and I will take it with a grain of salt, but they felt that the reason why Bijan Robinson wasn't ran the way that he should have been was because the coaches recognized that this team wasn't going to go anywhere. So why do what the Cowboys did with Ezekiel Elliott, where you're not going to win and fucking ruin your running back's life, essentially.
I don't even know if it was fully that. Arthur Smith was just hot garbage.
Yes. But so there are multiple factors that go into that, but I think that next year, whenever you couple Kirk Cousins, Mooney, Drake, Bijan Robinson, and yes, thank you, dog. Kyle Pitts is going to be a Pro Bowl next season. Yeah. I set it in stone, write it down, record me. I don't care. Kyle Pitts is going for 1,100 yards plus and at least 10 tutties, guaranteed. Because Kirk Cousins loves him a good check down. It's going to be disgusting. That offense is going to be nasty because Kirk brings that presence. He brings that veteranship that they have been desperately needing. And their defense is competent. They're not great, but they're competent. And I think that they've got something brewing in Atlanta, and it's exciting.
We talked a couple weeks ago, like Atlanta would be very scary if Kirk Cousins went to Atlanta. Like,
I think that was you, wasn't it?
yeah, probably. I was a very big Kirk Cousins to Atlanta guy. We can find the clip. We'll post it up.
Yeah, we'll post eventually. Yeah.
But yeah, I believe in that weak NFC South with a competent quarterback. They still somehow stumbled into, what did they go,
They sent
8
7
and
and
9
9
last
right?
year, 9 and 8.
Yeah.
They somehow stumbled into that with no quarterback. Imagine if they had Kirk Cousins wasn't healthy last year, but imagine a healthy Kirk Cousins, you're at least winning that division.
Oh,
You're winning an
100%.
extra at least 3 games.
yeah, because think about the quarterbacks that are in that division, and we are Baker Mayfield truthers on this
We love
pod.
some Baker.
We love Baker.
He got paid.
Baker's not Kirk.
No.
He's not.
No.
Kirk is the best quarterback by a decent chunk in that division now. And you add that with a defense that I think next season you just have to ask the defense, don't lose the game. That's all you have to ask them.
Well, now they can just focus on defense in the draft. Like, there's so many solid defensive players in this draft. The DBs are
Honestly,
deep. The D line is
draft
deep.
in general is just deep. The entire draft is deep. It's disgusting.
Let me go look at the draft order. I bet Atlanta picks relatively high too.
They do.
They should.
5 or 6.
Top 10. Yeah.
No, not 5 or 6.
They're 8.
8. Yeah.
Oh, so they get probably the top pick at like a defensive tackle.
Oh yeah.
They're probably getting the number 1 or 2 guy off the board with that.
Or best linebacker in the draft. Whatever. Like they have options.
I saw a thing with Kirk Cousins. They're like, they paid him all this money. He has 1 playoff win in his career. He's made almost $500 million in his career. Has 1 playoff win. Has made the playoffs.
Well, in his defense, there were
because of that insane Stephon Diggs catch in 2017.
And then the egregious missed call.
Oh, that.
Hey, again, asterisks, and I am y'all know me, I am a non-excuse type of individual, but whenever pass interference happens before the ball is thrown, it's pass interference. I'm sorry. It's a penalty. Yeah. When you tackle the guy before the ball comes out of the quarterback's hand, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's one of those things of you have to understand it in context. I think that Kirk is a very good quarterback, and I think that before he got injured, before he got injured, he was statistically the best quarterback this season before he
was lighting it up. The record did not show, but he was lighting it up.
He was the only reason why they even had a chance over there in Minnesota. Because I'm in Minnesota right now. Here in Minnesota, he's the only reason why they had a chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other winners for y'all besides the one that y'all both picked?
I really liked what Carolina's been doing. I did not expect them to drop so much money, and they are really trying to protect Bryce Young, because they've signed 2 guys for a total of $153 million for their offensive line. Mm-hmm. And 5 years, $100 million, 4 years, $53 million with an offensive guard and just a normal 2 offensive guards, and a bunch of defensive guys. So I did not expect them to come out backing up some Brinks trucks into Carolina.
No, yeah, I loved what Carolina did as well. I think, you have to make sure you're protecting your franchise, and that's Bryce Young at this point, and prioritizing getting that protection for him. And I think even getting Deontay for so cheap was also great. I mean, Deontay was on his way out of Pittsburgh anyways. You're not really giving up much for him. Dante Jackson was out of his way in Carolina. Kind of just have both franchises swap those guys, see if it's a better fit, see if it works out. And, most of the time when, teams have traded for Steelers wide receivers, they usually start, becoming a menace to society, go a little insane. But, maybe this time it'll work. Maybe Deontay will be fine, and he'll develop into a wide receiver 1, which in his first 2 years seemed like what he was going to be. And then Obviously, we've seen a lack of effort and him falling behind George Pickens and those types of things. But sometimes a change of scenery is important for these types of players, and we'll see what happens. Another team that I do really like is I'll go briefly over Philly. Philly getting Saquon, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, keeping Brandon Graham, all of those things.
Yeah.
Those are all ideal. That team should be a lot better at running the ball.
We'll see how much of a deal Jason Kelsey was with their rush rush block or run rush block.
Yeah, the run block,
Run block, not rush block. Run blocking. Because that'll be interesting. He led the tush push, so I'll be curious to see what their new center can do.
I don't think they're gonna do it anymore. I mean, it's gonna be hard to do it without Jason Kelsey. So I don't know if they're really gonna do it. But I'm excited. I have DeAndre Swift in Dynasty. I'm so glad that he's actually gonna score touchdowns again. Like, oh my god.
Seriously.
What a brutal year last year, never seeing DeAndre Swift score a touchdown. But the last team I want to go over for a biggest winner is the Texans.
Yeah,
the Texans signed all of the Vikings like ex-defensive guys. I mean, getting Danielle Hunter was huge. Getting Azeez Al-Shaair is huge. And I mean, keeping Dalton Schultz, Eric Murray, Desmond King.
They went crazy.
And Mixon.
And they upgraded from Singletary to Mixon.
Yeah, that is a huge upgrade.
Mixon had 1,400 all-purpose yards last year.
I mean, the Texans were already a problem, being what they were last year, as far as underdogs. And I think that they've already got dogs that are guys on their team that are dogs as far as chips on their shoulder and wanting to prove themselves. And I am very excited to see the Texans next year for sure.
We talked. I think the same episode we talked about the Falcons. We talked about if the Texans spend cash in free agency, they can be good. And
they had and I believe in their coach. I do. He is that next generation of coach where it's for the longest time the Bill Belichick constant hard ass coach was the best coach that you could have, And you look at Super Bowl winners. I mean, I think of Sean Payton. Sean Payton's born from the same mold, made from the same mold of constantly just a hard-ass coach. That doesn't really work anymore in today's NFL. And so I think that DeMeco Ryans is kind of that really good in-between where he is able to get the best out of his guys and he doesn't constantly bring them down. And because he doesn't constantly bring them down, they're willing to play harder for him. And so I think that we're going to be ushered into that new generation of coaching where it's more of a focus on how do I get the best out of my players without just constantly berating them on every step that they fuck up.
Exactly what they're going through in the recent years. Like he just retired.
Yeah. I think that that's also helpful having a young coach.
Yeah. But I just want to thank the Texans for signing Danielle Hunter, which allowed the Bengals to sign Sheldon Rankins.
This guy.
Just shout out Houston.
Hey, Matt might maybe be on the pod again here soon, so we can bring that up, see how he feels.
Yeah, I saw a stat. Rankins had 6 sacks last year. 3 of those were against Cincinnati in the same game.
So he's only going to get 3 sacks this year.
Oh man,
he doesn't have to go against the Bengals no line.
That's true.
I did have a dark horse for free agency winner. Yeah, I didn't write this down, so I am curious. And I know y'all have the site pulled up.
Dallas.
Hell no.
Long snapper.
Hell no. Bro, get that shit off my pod. We are bro. I had a long discussion about boycotting the Cowboys with some coworkers today that were from the DFW area. Don't do that to me. The Arizona Cardinals, genuinely.
Yeah.
They had some guys on their offensive line that were performing well. They resigned all of those guys. On top of that, they got DJ Dallas, which
the GOAT.
I wouldn't call him a game breaker, but he's better than what they have.
Yeah.
And they were able to get, Mac Wilson. They were able to get, they were able to re-sign Chris Barnes to a 1-year deal. Whenever I say that, I don't think that the Cardinals are going to be a problem next year, but I think that they locked up enough guys who are performing well that if you give them another year to truly build upon it, there'll be a problem the year after this upcoming season. I think that they're definitely trending in the right direction, and they recognize the talent that they have and the price that they can get that talent at.
Yeah.
So
we actually just discussed this in our Cardinals interview, so you'll hear all of this in a couple weeks.
Dude, I'm so excited. So for those of y'all who are listening right now, Danny and Tanner did some interviews actually last week and this week without me because I had some work trips to go on, and I am fucking excited based off the shit that y'all told me.
They're great.
There's going to be some viral sound clips, I will at least say. People are going to be pissed at one way or the other. So I'm very excited for the stuff that y'all got cooking for sure. So with that, we went through Texans going crazy, talked about, Giants and how they were able to do stuff. And while they're not, necessarily a problem, we mentioned Philly. Is there anybody else that y'all think just, made some big moves that you're like, wow, I'm surprised that they were willing to get to that stage in their development as a franchise? Maybe what was there let's say a most unexpected signing?
Most unexpected. Tanner, you gonna go for it?
Yeah, the one. So I have a most unexpected in a good way and a most unexpected in a bad way, right? A positive and negative. So start with the positive one. I really like the Giants getting Brian Burns, and I did not expect them to be the team that would trade for it. I knew that Brian Burns was pretty much done in Carolina. That's the writing's been on the wall for that for about 2 years now.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect the Giants to be the ones that would be able to pull that off. And I think it's just such a huge need for the Giants that it feels like a
with
perfect
Thibodeau is going to be
I know,
crazy.
Right? Yeah, that reshapes their defensive front. It's insane.
You have to have that nowadays, one on each side. You can't have just one side.
And I think they're going to be a problem. And I love it. I think it's a great fit. I think Brian Burns is going to fit in there. He's probably going to be a career guy for them. I don't think he leaves New York. And New York, they got a history of just having these, just absolutely menace pass rushers, with the Lawrence Taylors and the Michael Strahans. It'll be good to kind of see that come back together just for the kind of history of it. So I was really surprised by that. That was super cool.
How old is Burns?
Burns is younger. I think he might be 28.
Because they signed him to a 5-year deal. So you're saying
I thought he was 26.
Holy shit, Brian Burns is 25.
Okay. So I was close. Okay, I was about to say
he's only going to be 30 by the time his contract's up.
Yeah, no, I think
he's
Brian
going to get another contract after $150 million.
Yeah,
if he stays healthy, of course. That's absurd.
No,
brother,
yeah,
get that bag.
No, I thought he was older too. That's crazy. He's 25. Yeah, no, Brian Burns is definitely going to be in New York probably for the rest of his career. We'll probably
imagine
see
3 years the salary cap. They can just push his contract so far down the road.
Oh yeah, no, that's going to be crazy. Now for the negative one I got. I don't really know what the Commanders are doing. The Commanders kind of just signed everybody, but I don't really like any of the moves. And the one that really stands out to me is Austin Eckler. Because Austin Eckler's old, right? He's older. He's been around for a minute. He was had a huge regression last year. You sign him for 2 years. It's not like you're going to be competing. You got the second overall pick in the draft. You're going to be starting a rookie quarterback. You're going to be developing him. And you're going to have Austin Eckler there for some reason. It just doesn't make any sense.
They already have two good running backs too. That's the weird thing.
Well, Gibson left.
Oh yeah, still.
So
Robinson was the main guy anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like that sucks for B Rob because B Rob is awesome and I think can be a RB1. And now they're gonna have Eckler's friggin' geriatric ass out there. And I just don't know what they're gonna really accomplish with that.
Can I rattle off some of the Commander signings real quick?
Yeah, go for it. I'm looking at them right now. It's a weird list.
Brandon McManus, 1 year. Jeremy Chin, 1 year. Something I forget. Cleveland Farrell, 1 year. Zach Ertz, 1 year. Why'd they bring in Marcus Mariota for a year, and then Austin Eckler for 2 years? Like, you have Sam Howell, you're gonna draft probably Jaden Daniels. Why are you bringing in Mariota when you're gonna have a QB room of Jaden Daniels, Sam Howell, and Marcus Mariota?
When you're in a rebuild, you shouldn't be doing these 1 year stopgap contracts because it just gets your cap space in a really weird spot. Like, they should have done what the Giants did and get a 5-year young player that's going to be a cornerstone of your franchise.
The only signing I'm fine with is Dorrance Armstrong for 3 years, $45 million.
I don't hate the Freaky Lugu one. That one's fine.
So, if I may be the one to disagree with this group, as the NFC East correspondent between the three of us, I don't think that the command. I want to be perfectly clear. I don't think that the Commanders are going to be a problem next year.
No, we're not at all.
But I do think that even with the issues that I had with Dan Quinn as a coach, I think that he brings a very important culture to any football team. I mean, we saw it in Dallas. We saw it in Atlanta. There is players desire, not just want, but actively seek out to play for Dan Quinn. Yeah. And so with that, I get it. There's definitely a lot of random signings, but I mean, bringing in Bobby Wagner on a 1-year deal might sound a little weird, but with how deep the linebacker draft is this year, that might be the best thing that they could do. Think about it. They bring in a linebacker in this draft and let Bobby Wagner mentor
them. Yeah.
Yeah, mentor him on a day-to-day basis. Whoever that is, as long as they have the drive to succeed, they're going to be a beast. And, I think that some of the other things that they did, I think that the Austin Eckler signing is going to work out for them. They have issues on their offensive line. And if they can shore up those issues on their offensive line, Sam Howell's going to do great because he has an arm. He has the raw talent to be a force in the NFL.
I don't think Sam Howell's starting next year. They're going to draft quarterback. They're going to draft.
I think that would be a waste of a pick.
I agree, but that's what they're going to do.
Sam Howell has proven that he has the. Yes, is he a Brett Favre type of individual where there are some games where you've got to deal with the 3 picks to 1 touchdown ratio? Of course. But Sam Howell also has that Brett Favre in him where he can go for 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no picks. I think that it would be a waste of a first-round pick if they went after a quarterback. I know that I've seen some mock drafts where they, go with, is it Penix? I want to say it's Penix. Yeah. Where they have Penix at their pick. I think that's a waste. I think that is a waste of a draft pick. Instead, give that kid an offensive line. Sam Howell has the ability, if you give him an offensive line, to do disgusting things, and Scary Terry's the truth. They just, unfortunately, this past season had a really shitty offensive line. So whenever Howell was getting hit as he was throwing, it just didn't make its way to McLaurin. But I think between him and Eckler for a check down or, also just general run game, along with some of the other stuff that they've done, I don't know. Just as a Cowboys fan, I saw the moves that they made also on defense too with, Dorrance Armstrong, I have the list up here.
Frankie Louvu.
I'm trying to find that list real quick, but yeah,
Frankie
I
Louvu,
remember they made a couple of different signings for. Here we go. They have Zach Ertz on their team now, and they signed. Actually, they signed offensive linemen. They signed. Oh, I forgot. They signed Tyler Biotish, who, mind you, Tyler Biotish is not a Pro Bowl center, but is he a top 12 center in the NFL? Yes. Better than half? Yes. I'm looking at this list right now, and I'm like, they got pieces. It doesn't make sense right now. And I think that this upcoming year for the Commanders, what they're looking at is we've signed various talent. What sticks, what doesn't. They're just throwing shit against the wall right now, seeing what works and what doesn't. But I think that they are making the right steps moving forward that I don't know. I wouldn't make them they're definitely not a negative at this offseason for sure.
If you want, like, I feel like they're going to be dumb and go quarterback. Like, they're.
I hope they don't. That would be the worst thing for them. I hope
if they don't go Marvin Harrison.
Dog.
If he's going to be generational like he's supposed to be.
Dog.
I mean, I think any team in the top 5 should go Marvin Harrison over anybody else.
Yeah, the Bengals had this argument a couple years ago. Offensive line, wide receiver, Penny Sewell, Jamar Chase.
The answer was yes.
Either one,
right? Either. The answer is pick your poison.
Yeah, what's actually really funny, the Bengals might draft Sewell's cousin this year, which would be very funny.
Oh, well, there you go. It works out anyways.
But take a generational wide receiver.
Yes.
From what it's looking like, the draft is definitely going to go QB 1, 2, 3.
It would be ridiculous, though.
And Cardinals are going to get the 4th. It's going to. I'm not going to fully etch it in stone, but it's going to be Caleb Williams to the Bears, Drake May to the Commanders.
May.
Yeah, that's what most people are saying is.
Drake May is such an inconsistent passer. My God, bro.
I thought Daniels for Washington.
And then Jaden Daniels at 3 to the Patriots.
Interesting.
That's what I've been seeing. I've been seeing some flops. Daniels to 2 at the Commanders.
There's
3, Drake May.
After Caleb Williams, all other 5 quarterbacks could just.
I don't agree with that entirely. I think Drake May and Jaden Daniels are in a tier above, the Bo Nix, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, right?
I think JJ McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy isn't a first round guy for me, but he's going to get taken in the first round by someone desperate.
To Denver, he's going to Denver.
Yeah.
Dude, if he goes to Denver,
McCarthy to Denver, book it.
I would say that those guys from 2 and beyond, the quarterbacks aside from shoot, you just said it, Tanner. I'm so sorry. It's been a long day.
Are you talking about Caleb? Are you talking about Caleb?
Caleb Williams, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
So aside from him, there's a gap, and I think that every other quarterback besides Caleb Williams is a project, and there's nothing wrong with the project. I mean, if you think about it, Aaron Rodgers was a project.
I think Caleb Williams is a project.
I mean, that's a whole different other pod, but
that'll be the draft recap or preview.
It's gonna be disgusting, and we're gonna say some foul things that we're either gonna regret or it's gonna really work out for us. But I think that there's a pretty this is not a good a quarterback draft. It's just not. But the problem is every team wants a quarterback, and I think that a lot of these guys would really benefit from being in a system that is well established, where they can learn from other guys, being able to be behind a, Pat Mahomes, a Joe Burrow, a Josh Allen, even Tua, some of these later picks where it's it makes sense for them to be here. So then if it doesn't work out with that, well, Pat is excluded from this conversation, but if it doesn't work out with them in this franchise, then this particular individual can be grown into this position, similar to how we saw Brett Favre not necessarily pass on the torch to Aaron Rodgers, but they had Aaron Rodgers in the wings. And Aaron Rodgers still took 2 to 3 years of development to be Aaron Rodgers. And that's how I feel like a lot of these guys are, where the raw talent is there, but they are not him, so to speak.
I disagree with that. And
okay,
I think with this quarterback class, I think it's being hyped up as the best quarterback class since 2018.
Lies.
And I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with that.
2020 wasn't better than 2018?
2020 was better than 2018, but people didn't think 2020 was going to be as good as 20. You know what I mean?
There were like 2018 was deeper. 2020 had more solidified too.
But going
Burrow
into
and Herbert and Tua.
But like a lot of the talk going into the 2020 draft, it was like, oh, it's Joe Burrow as like the top guy, and then
leading up to it, it was all Tua, and then all of a sudden Burrow was like, I'm going to have
and
the best college football season of all time.
It was them, and then there was like some talk of Justin Herbert, and like that draft class, looking back at it, absolutely is way better than 2018.
Oh yeah,
but it wasn't hyped up to be that.
No,
whereas
that makes
2018
sense.
was super hyped up.
Yeah.
I mean, people were talking about Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold. You know, they're talking about all these
Jackson.
guys like that were going to be amazing, and then we go back to it, and we're like, man, Darnold sucks, Josh Rosen sucks.
Baker, Rosen,
and
Darnold.
I think this draft class, this 2024 draft class, is going to be very similar to that 2018 one, where I think we're going to see 5 first-round quarterbacks, just like we did then. I think we're going to see 3 go in the first 3 picks. We'll see Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and then I think we're going to see Michael Penix and JJ McCarthy. I think Bo Nix is going to be the one that falls down and falls out of it.
Whichever team gets McCarthy is going to be pissed.
Oh, he's coming to Denver. He's the CO, baby.
And again, I think at least 2 of those guys are going to just like super hard bust. But I think 2 of them are going to be genuine franchise guys, just like 2018. I mean, we had Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who are genuine franchise guys. And I think at least 2 of these 5 first-round quarterbacks that'll probably occur, and again, I'm speaking to my ass, so we don't know what's going to happen. 2 of them are going to be franchise guys. Now, whichever 2 it's going to be, who really cares? But each of them has the capability of doing it. Jaden Daniels is is a super dynamic dual threat and is going to be extremely valuable there. Drake May has one of the best arms in recent draft classes. Caleb Williams is hyped up as one of the most pro-ready quarterbacks that we've seen in the last couple of years. Those top 3 guys all have the potential to be insane. And that's why the Commanders, I just don't see them going out of that, because there's all this hype and there's all these things. They're going to take that opportunity for a franchise guy. And Sam Howell, as much as like Sam Howell can do it, Sam Howell, I don't think will develop into a franchise guy. And I think a lot of why Sam Howell looks good is because of Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, it's sad that he only gets a year, but this, in my opinion, in this QB draft class, I feel like it's like you're walking into a casino, walking up to the roulette table and just putting money down on red and be like, it's a 50-50 shot. Like, they could be amazing or they could be a bust.
Well,
Sorry, I don't think
cut you off.
I could only see one of them being a franchise reviving quarterback. I don't see many that could. Like, I don't like Williams as the number 1 pick. He hasn't, in college, he was horrible against good teams. Go ahead, Jordan.
I think that out of the first round quarterback draft group that is going to do the best is going to be Michael Penix. Not because he is not the best quarterback. I agree he is not the best quarterback. Michael Penix fits the system. I think that if you put Michael Penix with a Kyle Shanahan type of individual, would thrive. You know, if you put Penix on the right team at the right time for whatever reason, he's just gonna fit. He's one of those guys that he doesn't have the same type of arm strength that May has. He doesn't have the same kind of X factor ability that Caleb Williams has, but he just has that overall just ability,
If
just
the
that.
Falcons didn't get Cousins, I could see the Falcons drafting Penix.
I
and
thought
he would
I
fit
thought that that's
beautifully.
I thought that that's what was going to happen. I thought that they were going to go quarterback again. And
Yeah,
then
I
once they
said
got,
either
like,
or. If they didn't sign a
Cousins.
quarterback, they were going Penix.
But yeah, I think out of this draft class, depending on how coaching and other factors work, but as far as just pure NFL success, I think Penix is going to have the best NFL success because he can fit more systems than most.
I just want to say
Spicy.
the Bears really screwed up free agency, so we can get back to free
Dog.
agency talk.
Yeah.
You have Justin Fields
Well, hey.
ready to fire off, and you do nothing with him, and let every single team that needs a quarterback.
We can't talk about worst losers just yet. That's a segment 2 thing, Danny. Don't get too excited now. I will give you two both your last moments here to talk about anything else you want to add in about maybe any winners that surprised you with their aggressive approach or teams that are more future oriented. But yeah, we got to keep that what you're talking about, Danny, for segment 2.
The Raiders had Christian Wilkins' big signing. What did his come out to be?
Yeah.
Where's Vegas? I'm in W's. Where's L? 4 years, 110 million. Chris Jones got 5 years, 160 million. There were some big signings for some defensive guys this year already.
Yeah.
Even Jalen Johnson, defensive back, 4 years, 76 mil.
Yep.
So out of the group, was there anyone that y'all thought took a more win now approach versus a more sustainable approach moving forward?
Team or player?
Team. Yeah, team.
The Ravens.
Yeah.
Even though they only signed like 2 people. Well, they only signed one free agent and re-signed.
But I mean, just getting Derrick Henry is insane for that offense.
For that offense, for sure.
Yeah. The Falcons made a big step forward. They're in a win now mode.
Yeah.
So
Houston, I think, went very big.
Houston went win now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Bengals made some moves. We brought in a big safety. We brought in a cheaper running back, tight end. We got the big D lineman. We're apparently having a couple more signings in the next couple of days. But everyone expected Cincinnati to be in a win now mode anyways with the contract.
I thought that I may not necessarily agree with the moves that they made, but I will say that the Eagles at least tried.
Yeah.
The Eagles definitely went win now for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like they put it all out on the table, and I think that if the Eagles don't do anything substantial in the next 2 years, they're probably going to blow it up. But they definitely pushed all their chips to the center. So let me ask y'all this, just because I know we touched on it briefly at the beginning of the segment, but do y'all feel like this was a more eventful free agency than normal? Because I do.
I agree.
I think 100% for running backs. Absolutely.
My God.
This is the most running back moves I think I've ever seen.
Honestly, quarterbacks too. We had
a lot of quarterbacks.
Cousins to the Falcons. Sorry, these are your
Wilson
notes, so I'm not going to act like I took these for myself. But Cousins to the Falcons, Trubisky to the Bills, Winston to the Browns, Jones to the Jaguars, Minshew to the Raiders, Darnold to the Vikings, Logg to the Giants, Wilson to the Steelers. Bucks re-signed Baker. Thank you for those
big
notes,
payday.
by the way, Tanner.
Yep, did my best.
Do I steal the running backs, or do you want to read off your own created list, Tanner?
I'll use my list. I'll use the list that I spent time creating.
Tanner killed that list.
Dallas Cardinals.
I am using that shit right now because I didn't prepare for this pod. So shout out to Tanner.
No, yeah.
So, I will say in terms of craziest free agencies, I think this is definitely up there and the most recent ones that we've had. I will say the one that would be a little bit crazier, and it wasn't really free agency, it was just trade deadline things. When Russell Wilson got traded from Seattle to Denver and Deshaun got traded from Houston to Cleveland, both in the same offseason, that was pretty crazy. Like having those two massive trades in the same offseason.
Yeah, that was a weird. Two very bombshell trades happened back to back.
So that one felt
not
more
normal.
eventful just because those were like bigger
Big.
things. But in terms of like most moves, this is probably would take the cake.
The NFL is going to look weird next year.
Well, and speaking of it looking weird, let's go through the running back list. So we're going to start with the GOAT, DJ Dallas to the Cardinals, Derrick Henry to the Ravens, DeAndre Swift to the Bears, Zach Moss to the Bengals, Josh Jacobs to the Packers, Joe Mixon to the Texans, Gus Edwards to the Chargers, Aaron Jones to the Vikings, Antonio Gibson to the Patriots, Devin Singletary to the Giants, Saquon Barkley to the Eagles, Austin Eckler to the Commanders, Tony Pollard to the Titans. That is 13 different starting running backs.
And what is half of those are franchise guys?
Yeah. Like Josh Jacobs has never been on a different
Jones,
team.
Barkley, Eckler, Henry, all franchise guys.
I mean, he's not a franchise guy as far as what y'all are talking about, but
yeah,
I mean, he's
but
only
Pollard,
in Dallas though.
Yeah,
You know?
he started last year with Dallas, RB1,
I'm not
RB2
upset
behind
about
Zeke
it,
for a
though.
while.
But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that this segment.
But like, there have been 6 guys that have been on their team forever. Mixon was there for 8 years, 7 years in Cincinnati, and then we're just like, all right, we're gonna trade you. See ya. Save $2 million.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it made sense for. I'm not a huge Mixon guy. Like, I think Mixon he's like we use the term merchant a lot, right? But he feels like a carries merchant. Like Mixon is good because he gets a lot of carries, not because Mixon is overtly dynamic, right?
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah,
I
Zach
think
Moss has more than double the explosive runs and 100 less carries than Mixon had last year.
exactly. So I kind of like the Bengals saving money to get rid of Mixon and getting someone who's a little bit more explosive. They want
And
to
a
have
little bit younger.
and younger.
Yeah, I like Moss.
I do want to come to, which this feels weird coming to Mixon's aid like this, but I had him in fantasy for several years. Mixon is one of those.
Hater before you start.
Oh no, trust me. I know you of all people are not a Mixon hater.
I'm kind of a Mixon
I think Mixon is one of those guys that his consistency is his downfall almost of, every time that you hand the ball to Mixon, you're probably going to get between 3 and 5 yards
and that he will never fumble.
Yeah.
There's 5 times in his career.
There's positives and negatives. There's he takes care of the ball, but also he doesn't have the explosive plays. But if you need 2 yards for a first down or for a touchdown, he's going to get it. But if you need 3 yards, it's a little iffy.
Or he'll only get you 5 touchdowns too in one game. That's fine.
He's just he's a weird guy. There's just no other way to put it other than Mixon is one of those dudes that when it's all working for him, he looks like the best running back in the league.
Yeah.
But when it's not working for him, you kind of forget him for a season.
He looked really good when we had a good offensive line. When we had no run blocking, he was getting hit behind the backfield, but still averaged 4 yards a carry.
But I mean, I've seen Derrick Henry with a bad offensive line fucking just destroy teams.
But last year Henry didn't do anything because he was getting hit after hit 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
My brother, he still had 1,200 yards. Hey, y'all were the ones talking shit about Derrick Henry, but
Mixon had 1,400 last year.
Segment 1, the first segment of this pod is not meant to talk shit about people. We're supposed to.
Well,
be
we're already 48 minutes
excited.
in, so if we're having 3 segments, we better hurry
Oh
up.
Jesus Christ! You know what? I'm gonna chug this beer. So yeah, let's go ahead and kick it to commercial break. We will come back after this and talk about which teams we thought did the absolute worst during free agency. So yeah, stay tuned.
You're the proud owner of a business, and you've got it all. The hustle, the bustle, and the occasional office kitchen mishap that turns into an alarm-triggering emergency.
Oh!
But fear not. Western States Fire Protection is here to turn your workplace into a disaster-free zone. Our in-house team handles everything from fire sprinklers to alarms, monitoring, inspections, extinguishers, and more. Visit WSFP.com to request a quote. Because when your microwave thinks it's a flamethrower, we're the heroes you need.
This podcast is sponsored by Hair Club.
Fellas, are you losing your hair? Hairline receding, maybe? In the past, we as men had limited options. We could either rock the grandpa hairline, shave it, or resort to a very obvious-looking toupee. Well, the good news is there's an option for you now. Hair Club is a hair restoration and hair replacement service with offices spanning across the United States. Hair Club is different from other hair restoration places because they use cutting-edge technology like TricoView hair and scalp analysis, utilizing micromagnification to examine hair and scalp health. This provides better diagnostics of your hair and determines solutions to stop your personal hair loss. Solutions range from EXT extreme hair therapy to keep and regrow your existing hair by reactivating follicles and adding volume, X-Strands hair systems that is color and texture matched to perfection to blend with the rest of your hair, or even hair transplant solutions for those who are further along in their hair loss. I personally use the X-Strand system and have never turned back. My wife thinks I'm as sexy as ever and my confidence is at an all-time high, but I'm just a podcaster, right? Well, Hair Club has become such a renowned name that even dudes like two-time NASCAR champion Joey Logano and primetime Emmy nominee Frankie Muniz both utilize Hair Club services. And if you ultimately decide on a service, be sure to use the code FOURTH, that's FOURTH, for 10% off everything you purchase. There's no better time to get your hair back than now. So fellas, boost your confidence, get that look you want, go to hairclub.com today.
Are you looking for a podcast to advertise your business? Well, you're in luck. Here at the Fourth Down Fiasco, we're looking for show sponsors. Whether you want to be a platinum sponsor and be mentioned at the beginning and end of every episode, or you just want a simple 30 or 60-second ad, we got you covered. If you're interested in having a spot on our show, you can reach us at fourthdownfiasco@gmail.com. That's fourthdownfiasco@gmail.com. We are excited to hear from you and even more excited to have you on the show. Join the Fiasco family now.
And we're back with the Fourth Down Fiasco. So we took a look at how long segment 1 was. We covered a lot of shit in segment 1. So we actually our notes are a lot shorter for segment 2 and 3. We're going to go ahead and combine them, talk a little bit about biggest losers of free agency, because I think we all have one unanimous choice for that, along with the 2024 divisional outlook, identifying some sleeper teams, and then, which signees that we think, the signees that we're most excited to talk about. So with that, fellas, as the, guy who cheers for this team, may I open us up about the worst team in free agency?
You go for it. We could all count down and say it at the same time.
oh, yes. Danny, would you like to count us down? Because I guarantee it's the same answer.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Cowboys. Yes.
Who knows how bad that sounded until like an hour ago.
Yeah. Who knows how bad that sounds whenever we record it, but yes, the Dallas Cowboys were inarguably the worst team in free agency this season. So
nothing.
I'll let
day
y'all
one,
talk about it.
Nothing day 2 until the end of the day, and that was an old linebacker.
We re-signed our long snapper.
Your current long snapper.
Our Pro Bowl long snapper. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. Let's go.
Scary.
Hey, bro. Jerry Jones said all in, and y'all saw this bullshit I put out on Twitter.
I saw you become a quote.
My ass. Yes. All in my ass, bro. I don't care how that sounds. I agree with it.
That comma
No
is
parentheses. That fuck the comma. I'll just fucking all in my ass, bro. That's how I feel cheering for the Dallas Cowboys, is that everything is fucking in my ass all the time. Bro, it's uncomfortable. I hate it. I don't want it to be there, but it's still there. And I have to enjoy it.
I will say my favorite part about all of it, though, is seeing the Skip Bayless tweet where he does have that. He has the all-in comma my ass. And you go look at Skip Bayless's tweets, and they usually don't have, like, any sort of punctuation. So you know that he just typed it all out and sat there for a couple of minutes and was like, wait a second.
Fun fact, Skip Bayless stole my tweet. My tweet came out an hour before.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes, I did. I had long discussions about everything being in my ass. Trust me.
Yeah. If you follow our Twitter account, he is part of our podcast. So, yep.
Unfortunately, just like I'm unfortunately a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, Tanner, what other teams are you not a fan of currently with free agency?
I know you said you like the Titans moves. I was just confused by the Titans, really. Because they let Henry and Vrabel go, and then they kind of went all in. And I don't like the Ridley deal. So I'm just
I didn't expect them to go as hard as they did.
Yeah. I don't necessarily hate the Titans moves. I just don't understand it. That's the same way I feel about the Commanders.
Calvin Ridley tweeted out saying chess, not checkers, so he might know something we don't.
Well, yeah, dude, he just got a bag, all right? Like, he's playing chess, man. He fucking secured it.
Yeah.
I also think that kind of on the same note of it wasn't awful, but they just didn't really do anything. The Raiders.
They got Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, they also signed Gardner Minshew as the quarterback, bro. Like
they'll draft someone.
Gardner Minshew's gonna have the time of his life in Vegas.
You have Max Crosby.
Oh, I'm sure he is, bro. That mustache is gonna have a whole lot of other things than just
you
hair.
Got Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins on your D line. Good luck.
I do like that Antonio Pierce. Jesus, Antonio Pierce said he was like, we're gonna try to embody, the late '80s, early '90s, like, oh my God, Pistons, the Detroit Pistons, right? We're gonna go into, we're playing against Jordan. Patrick Mahomes is Jordan. We have to do everything possible to hold him down, get pressure on him, beat him up, essentially. And
those two guys,
Christian Wilkins and Matt Crosby are the perfect guys to do that with. So I like sticking to the character. You're gonna have this, have the Raiders be a mean team, get a bunch of pressure, beat up on Patrick Mahomes, bang him up. I like it, but it was also kind of a shitload of money for Christian Wilkins.
Oh, it was a bunch of money. But if they can bring Mahomes down for the rest of the NFL, go for it.
But here's the thing: is a Christian Wilkins, Matt Crosby led defense is no different than a Bosa, Chase Young led defense. And what did we just watch? Pat Mahomes beat those two motherfuckers in a Super Bowl.
Wilkins and Max are better than Bosa and Young.
Yeah.
I'd say
both. Young on the Commanders, I would say yes. But Young, when he got to the 49ers, kind of regressed. He didn't.
What do you think's going to happen with Wilkins? Wilkins was the star of the Miami defense. He's going to now go onto a team. He's now going to go on to a team that he's no longer going to be on a star on. Same thing with.
You can have two stars on the defense.
Sorry. He'll still be a star, but he's not going to be that dude. Just like Young, on the Commanders was that dude, and then he got to San Fran and he wasn't that dude because Bosa was that dude. I don't know. I think that it's a very similar parallel personally.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see.
I'm also not the betting line guy.
Tanner, check out some future merch. What?
I was just gonna say, I just appreciate the sticking to like what culture you're trying to form, right? You want to embody the bad boy Pistons, one of the only few teams that was actually able to stop Michael Jordan, and you're like, we're going to do this for the NFL. Fuck yeah. Let's try it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to work. I mean, nothing the Raiders have done over the last 20 years has worked. So you got to keep just trying new things. So
no one's tried that though. Like no one's tried to build a D line to just bully Mahomes. People build defenses to contain Mahomes, not bully.
Yeah. My big issue with it though is I don't think that you can sustainably win as a franchise if you're only trying to stop one player in the league.
But if you can stop the best player in the league, it's going to work against every other quarterback.
Not necessarily, because here's the thing. There are so many, let's take Lamar versus Pat, for example.
That's true.
Two totally different quarterbacks, right? So, you get this, defensive line, this rush attack for Pat Mahomes specifically, and you gear up on it and you get it ready. Yes, you defeat Pat Mahomes, but then there are other quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson who that takes its own defensive package, so to speak.
Who's the Raiders like interior D line? Like who's their nose tackle?
I'll look it up. You guys,
because
y'all keep yapping. I'll find it.
My thought process right here is they can bully Mahomes, but if they can trap Lamar, like have Max and Crosby run deep, and if their nose tackle is solid, they won't let Lamar step up, which would help contain him. Because Lamar is dangerous when he gets outside the pocket. If he steps up or rolls, it's game over.
So they don't play a 3-4; they play a 4-3. So they're gonna have Max Crosby at lefty end, and they're gonna have Wilkins at lefty tackle. So the left side's gonna be really good, but their right side is Matthew Butler, never heard of him, and Malcolm Kuntz.
What pick do they have?
If I remember right. Yeah, he's aight. Yeah.
What pick do they have again?
They have an early pick. I'll find
13. They're going to get one of the good D line. They could draft D line at 13.
But also, generally speaking, your D line, it takes a couple of years to develop those guys.
No, I know.
D line guys have to put on weight in order to survive.
This D line class is actually pretty deep, like pretty solid. But I understand
they're talented. I'm not denying the fact that they're talented. I'm saying the fact that any type of interior defensive lineman that you have, there is just they're just not strong enough.
I'm saying they go edge. Get right edge. You could have Wilkins cover the center.
I would think that they would need to sign someone in free agency for that, though. Someone who's established. Because again, I mean, edge is, unless you have a generational talent, generally speaking, you still need a year for your edge guys to develop. Because again, strength is so important for those roles.
With the Raiders, though, is they're not competing in the next year or two. They still got some time. So I think drafting a developmental edge right now, because they signed Wilkins to a 5-year deal, right?
Yeah.
They got Wilkins for a minute. They got Crosby for a minute.
Throw a rookie edge on that right side for
they can
next
punt
year.
A year or two for a rebuild. And I think they are going to try to rebuild and retool so that they compete for the AFC West.
Yeah.
And I kind of respect the mentality to just be so much of a hater that you only focus on one team. Yeah. We might not win the Super Bowl, but Kansas City sure as hell ain't. And
I dig it.
Let's do it.
We might win 2 games, but it's going to be against Kansas City.
Yeah, maybe they'll be good enough to make the playoffs and knock Kansas City out of the playoffs. And they're doing everybody else a favor. So I respect it. The Jets should have freaking done that with the Patriots, but the Jets were like, "Oh, we're actually going to try to compete," and they went like 4-12 every year.
Yeah.
So
just being like, "Oh no, we're gonna only draft Tom Brady stoppers." Yeah, that's fair.
I respect it. If we can't win a Super Bowl, you're not going to win a Super Bowl. Why not? Right?
Patriots. Talking about the Patriots, they haven't done anything.
They just signed a bunch of bums. I don't know. Like They got the
they're in a full blown rebuild process at this point,
Well,
especially
you
with
say
Belichick
that
gone.
they have 16 starters that are free agents next year.
That is so funny.
That sounds like perfect rebuild to me. You have some shit players that play this year that nobody gives a fuck about, and yeah, maybe a couple of them play well, whatever. But next season they all go away, and you continue to have high draft picks. Yeah, no, I think the Patriots are in full blown.
If they go into a full rebuild right now and they draft Jaden Daniels at 3, who's like arguably the one who needs more of a supporting cast, that's gonna be hilarious. Like they're gonna ruin that guy's career.
Patriots signings are just 1 year or a random 3-year deal.
Honestly, the Patriots' best bet is to not go, which they will probably go quarterback first round, but not go quarterback first round, and just let the team suck next season and stack up in every other position that because I mean this draft is so deep as far as it's deep in wide receivers, it is deep in linebackers, it is deep in defensive linemen, like honestly offensive it is a really good draft aside from quarterbacks, if we're being honest.
You might be manifesting though, because they did sign Brissett for a year and he started for New England before. I wouldn't put it past him again.
Let him be a stopgap for a year. They're still not going to be any good, and they're still going to get a top 5 to top 10 pick, undoubtedly, and get all these other positions right. And next year, there's going to be some good quarterbacks coming out.
I also saw another thing though about like the Patriots front office. They for whatever reason they don't re-sign players for a contract extension. They just let them hit free agency and try to get them again. It's the weirdest thing. And so when they have 16 players hitting free agency next year, plus the ones that they signed on 1-year deals, don't expect any of them to get a restructured or re-signed during the season or after the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's a crazy mentality to take.
Yeah. Like, we're just so good. I guess if you have Tom Brady and like Gronk on your team, people will sign with you,
right?
But when you have nobody, good luck.
Yeah.
Brutal.
I will say a team that I was really disappointed in for the offseason just because, they've been relevant despite their name, is the Cleveland Browns. I don't know. I just... I know y'all feel good about me saying that. It's just
you got the all sexual assault quarterback room now.
Wait, is Jameis one of those two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never heard about the Uber ride stuff?
Oh, come on.
No, I heard about the fucking crab legs. I didn't know about the Uber ride stuff.
Yeah, look up the Uber ride stuff. Yeah, Jameis is a bad person.
Got it. Damn.
Their quarterback room's thriving.
And, they signed Jared Judy, which, dude, I haven't been convinced of Jared Judy since his first year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, they let Flacco go, right?
He went to the Colts.
This is all the Browns could do because they don't have cap space.
Yeah. And they can't really restructure anything.
They signed two random ass tight ends. They re-signed Dunn, which that's fine, I guess. The only person on this list that I gives me any type of excitement is Jordan Hicks.
The Darius Smith isn't bad, but not good.
Not bad.
I mean, if I remember correctly, he's aging, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm not saying he's great, but 2-year deal for $11 million.
Yeah, a 31-year-old on the edge for. I mean, what I'm. Okay, yeah, no, you're right. Sorry, I saw the 2-year deal max amounts. Okay, but still, I don't know. I wouldn't even say that it's a particularly exciting signing. They feel similar to how the Cowboys feel, where they just kind of said, let's see how the draft goes. And that's where they're at.
They have no room for anything.
Yeah,
they can't do
their
anything.
only option. That's all they can do. They screwed themselves so hard with that Deshaun contract that
with Captain Touch and Feel. Yeah.
Yep.
Man.
A team that should have. Let's move on to a team that should have done a lot more, and they had a lot of room to do so. They kind of did some stuff, but Chicago, They have the first and fourth, fifth overall pick or whatever it is, or seventh.
It's first and
ninth, and
they seem like they have no direction.
They could have built a stacked team in free agency and then drafted 2 generational players, and they didn't hit on any big guy.
Jalen Johnson, Swift.
Yeah. Jalen Johnson, DeAndre Swift were their big signings. Gerald Everett, when you already have a good tight end room, I don't
know why you'd bring Gerald Everett to compete with Cole Kmet. That makes no sense.
They did that. They did add depth in their defensive back room, which is always good. You always need that. And signed a single or traded for a offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Dumped a bunch of money on a defensive back, and that's about it.
So with that, because I let's be honest, the Bears have been the ass of the NFL for probably the past like 5 years. I mean, they've been that for a lot longer, but as far as being the absolute worst team, it's been kind of them undisputably if you look at body of work for the past 4 or 5 years. But as far as divisional standings, just because we had so much shakeup in all of this, what do y'all think that it's going to look like next season? And let's try and do a rapid fire, just because I know that we've been on this for a while now. So we can go through every conference or every division. So we'll start with AFC East: Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Pats. Do y'all think that moves out of that order of Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Pats?
I can see the Jets jumping a little bit.
Yeah.
With Rodgers coming back. And a couple big offensive line signings. The Patriots aren't doing anything.
Yeah.
So Patriots would probably be worse, honestly. But yeah, I mean, Jets might jump the Dolphins. Other than that, I think that would be about as much movement as they get.
I could see the top 3 swap in any direction, really. I feel like they're all going to be matched pretty evenly.
I don't know. I feel like just because the Bills have had the reign for as long as they've had, I feel like the Bills
entire defense.
That's a good
point. but they have just found ways. I mean, they've had one of the shittiest starting running backs in the league for 4 or 5 years, and they've still found a way to be relevant. So I think that they have good coaching. I think that as much as we talk shit about Josh Allen, he does show up in big moments. He may not be the best regular season quarterback, but he does better than most come playoffs. So I don't see the Bills getting dethroned. I could see the Jets swapping with the Dolphins. Pats aren't going anywhere.
AFC North.
It
ended with Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati will be higher just because Joe Burrow should be healthy.
Yeah.
I would probably put them number 2. But I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of change beyond that. I still think that Cleveland's going to be a little bit better than Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's trending in the right direction. I think that they're making the right moves, but I think that they're making future-oriented moves more than they are win-now moves.
I don't trust Deshaun. I'm going to put Cincinnati and Baltimore. Baltimore is just good in the regular season. Cincinnati's going to jump up to 2, but I think Pitt's going to jump up to 3. They're going to have their quarterback for the full season as long as Wilson doesn't get hurt. But Deshaun, I don't trust him. And then if he goes down, I don't trust Jameis Winston.
So our list is looking the exact same. I'm going to have Ravens at 1. I think Ravens are probably going to have a 13-win season again. They're going to be pretty nuts.
I could.
They might have a 15-win season. Honestly,
I could see Cincinnati sneaking in with a 13-win because we have a 4th place schedule. We have such an easy schedule this year. Where Baltimore's going to have a brutal schedule.
I think Cincinnati's going to have a really good schedule. I just think Baltimore's going to be really fucking good.
They're going to be beat up by the end of the year, though.
Yeah, they're going to go through the ringer. But I'm still going to put Baltimore at 1. I'll put Cincinnati at 2. I'd anticipate like Baltimore 13 wins, Cincinnati like 11 or 12, and then Pittsburgh probably 10 and 7 again. And honestly, I think the Browns are going to just straight hard regress because they're not going to have Joe Flacco. And I think them having to rely on Jameis Winston and Deshaun Weinstein is going to be terrible. So I honestly think they might, instead of going 11-6, I think they might go 6-11.
They could, yeah.
Especially with a second place schedule. I think the Browns are not going to do well next year, and you know what? Couldn't happen to a better franchise.
Yeah. AFC South.
Bro, the haterade is strong with you two. Woo.
Yeah.
AFC South, Houston,
Hey,
Jacksonville, Indy, Tennessee.
I would say Tennessee stays where they're at. Honestly, yeah, no. AFC South stays exactly where they're at.
I'm an Anthony Richardson believer, and I think Tanner will back me up on that. I could see them jumping Jacksonville. Especially with Jacksonville's regression in free agency.
That's about where I'm at.
Yeah. Yep. It depends on how Jacksonville does in the draft. If Jacksonville can get some difference makers in the draft, I think that they stay where they're at. I still don't think that they're ever going to be a problem.
Because the Colts defense is great.
But
I think it was 4 games last year. They only let more than 20 points up. And if you had Anthony Richardson as quarterback, you're probably putting up at least 21 points a game.
Yep. You know, I'm going to go bold. I'm actually going to put Colts win the division, then Texans, and then I'm going to put Jags Titans.
I can see that just because I don't believe Stroud's going to have the year he had last year.
And again, I think it's just going to be we're going to see Anthony Richardson develop, and I think he's going to have a really good year. And then, again, I'm the biggest Michael Pittman truther on the planet. Yeah. Keeping him there is awesome. And that defense is really good. And I think if they can just rely on the back of the defense, Anthony Richardson plays really well, I think they could be a 12-win team.
I feel like it's going to come down to
Texans will be like a 10-11-win team. So
I think it's going to be the same as the AFC last year, where it comes down to week 18, and whoever wins is the division champion.
See, I think that I feel like the Texans are a cut above the rest of the folks that are in their division. Not like it's not like a substantial difference, you know, but I do think that the Texans are going to be better than 10-7 next year. You know, whether that's 11-6 or 12-5, I do think that they're going to win a couple extra games. They brought on some good free agents. They re-signed the guys that they needed to re-sign, and I really like D'Amico Ryans as a coach.
No, I do too. Yeah.
You know, I think that he's going to be maybe not necessarily him, but his prototype as a coach is going to be the future of the NFL. So
probably. All right.
AFC West. Yeah. So we have Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos, Chargers. Broncos will be last place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the only change.
I think so too. I think the rest probably stays the same.
Yeah, because Los Angeles lost some players. I think Raiders are still going to be mid no matter what, and Kansas is Kansas. Yeah. So NFC East, Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, Commanders. This pains me to say. I think that the Cowboys will be third in the division next year.
Who you got second? I see Eagles at 1, but you got the Giants.
No, I have Commanders over the Cowboys.
What?
Ooh, y'all weren't ready for that. Hey, listen, man, I'm telling y'all, I like Dan Quinn for the sake of culture. I think that he has flaws as a coach, but
they don't have the roster around him yet. Give him a couple years, then they'll be there.
I think that Dan Quinn has the ability to, while he struggles to get the best out of his best players, he always gets the best out of his worst players. As you know, I saw firsthand in Dallas. And I think that there are going to be some dudes on the Commanders who, you know, either came from Dallas, because, you know, there's like 3 of them that did, which pains me. I really do think that the Commanders are probably going to go 10-7 next year. Or 10-7. I really do. I think Eagles will be first. You know, I think that they have the most talented roster, especially with Saquon now on the team. I don't think that they'll do anything in playoffs just because I don't believe in Sirianni like that. But I really think that the Commanders are going to jump the Cowboys. Giants are going to be dead last. Fuck the Giants. Nobody cares about the Giants.
I'm going Philly, Dallas, Washington, Giants.
I'm going Philly, Dallas, Giants, Washington.
We'll see who's right.
Really?
I told you I like the Brian Burns move and I like the John Runyon move.
That's fair.
That
Yeah.
is-
But I think the
that's
Giants
something.
are going to go like 5-12, and the Commanders are going to go like 3-14. It's not like I'm like,
I could see him within a
watch out
game.
for the Giants, boys. Just
Yeah.
NFC
North.
I was like, that's a bold take.
Let's jump. NFC North: Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago.
Packers first place.
Over Detroit?
Yep. I think that Packers are going to do really well in the draft this year because unlike a lot of other teams that are trying to climb their way up, the Packers have a good quarterback. They have Jordan Love is a good quarterback, and they are set on him at least, for the next couple of years. And so instead of doing the bullshit first round pick midway through the first round of a JJ McCarthy or whoever else, they're going to say, oh no, we're going to get this defensive tackle, or we're going to get this wide receiver, or, fill in the blank, like whatever it ends up being. They're going to pick players other than quarterback. And I for whatever reason, Green Bay always finds a way to be on top of this division, and it is really annoying, but they always do. And I don't trust the Vikings to do it, especially now that Kirk's gone. I don't think that they have the quarterback power for it. I don't think that they're going to pick up a quarterback worthy to take that place, at least in this upcoming year. The Bears are the Bears. The Bears are going to be the worst team in the in the NFC North, and I could see it being a situation where I don't think that they're just going to blow Detroit out of the water, but I could see, Green Bay being 11-6 and Detroit being, also being 11-6, but losing the tiebreaker. Honestly, I could see that 11-6 versus 11-6. Yeah. And Green Bay having the tiebreaker over Detroit. I think that's the most feasible option.
Tanner, what's your division standings?
I was going to make a joke and I was going to say Bears and talk about Caleb Williams just to kind of get your reaction, but I decided against it. We won't do it. I think the only changes I'll have, I actually do agree. I think the Packers will jump the Lions, not by much. I really do like the Josh Jacobs signing, and I think Jordan Love is just going to develop more. I think the Packers are primed for it, but I think the Lions are still going to be like an 11-6, 10-7 roster. They're still going to be good. And then I'm going to have the Bears leapfrog the Vikings, as in the Bears will go like 6-11, and the Vikings are going to go like 4-13. You got Sam Darnold at quarterback, man. I just,
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm going to be the outlier. I'm keeping Detroit at top. Just the momentum they have with Dan Campbell.
I do like Dan Campbell as a coach.
I can see Green Bay winning 2 more games. I just don't see them even just tying, like you said. I just think Detroit would hold the tiebreaker. But yeah, Minnesota is going to finish with 3 wins. Chicago's probably going to stay around the 7-win mark
where they are.
Yeah.
So NFC South, we have Buccaneers, Saints, Falcons, Panthers. I think it ends up in that. Well, actually, no, because the Falcons got fucking Kirk Cousins. Falcons first, Bucks second, Saints and Panthers. Who gives a shit who ends up being in that last place?
The Falcons are going to jump to the top. Everything else is going to stay the same.
I agree. Yeah. I think Falcons are going to be a 12-win team next year.
Oh, I can see it.
And I think Bucks are probably going to be like a 10-win team. I can see Bucks making a wild card berth again. Saints. I think Saints are going to regress. I think Saints are going to be like a 5-6 win team, and I think the Panthers are.
I don't think they're going to regress that bad. Probably
maybe they'll be more of like a 7-win team.
6 to 8.
Yeah, maybe they'll be more like a 7-win team, and then I think Panthers might get a little. Maybe they'll go 4.
They might get 4 or 5.
They're not going to do a whole lot better.
No. They're still going to be a lottery.
They're going to be picking top 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then NFC West, we have 49ers, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals. I'm keeping that exact order personally.
What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, it's hard to change.
Yeah,
Seattle didn't.
I
do
think that's the
anything
most
new.
set in stone.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I wouldn't change the order. I think Rams might be a little bit better, but I don't think they're going to jump the 49ers.
They could end up like the NFC North and have a two-way tie at the top and just have a tiebreaker.
Honestly, I could see with Kyler Murray being healthy, I could see the Cardinals fighting for that third spot. I don't know if that's
what we talked about with Conrad today.
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily that the Rams have a down season or, they're duking it out with Seattle, but I could see them leapfrogging one of those two by like one win and it being like, oh, they're 7-10, or 8-9 to be in that position. But
I'm still going to put Seattle. I'm still going to put Seattle over Arizona, but I'm going to kind of like split their wins, where I think like Seattle will regress a little bit, not having Pete Carroll and not really doing a whole lot in free agency. So they'll regress kind of more to like a 7-win team, and then Arizona will improve to like a 6 or 7-win team.
So any sleeper teams this upcoming season that you want to put people on notice for? Because I have one, but
I really like the Falcons. They're under 500 last year. I could even say the Colts. They were just over 500, but those two teams both finished third in their division. Yeah. And if you want to call Cincinnati a sleeper because they were injury riddled last year, they could have a big jump from 4th to 2nd.
But
the only reason why they were down there was because their star quarterback was hurt. I wouldn't call that a sleeper, but
I could see
I'm with you about Falcons.
Yeah, I could see a couple teams jumping 2 spots in their division. I don't see anyone going last to first. We've had that happen a couple years, but I don't see anything happening this year. Maybe the AFC North.
Well, I guess the Falcons weren't last now that I'm looking at these standings.
Yeah, the AFC North is the only one that could do last to first.
Yeah.
Every other division, I cannot see it happening.
No.
Yeah.
It is absurd that the AFC North's last place team is over 500.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Go y'all.
Brutal football.
But yeah, I think that for me especially, depending on how the draft goes for them, I think Atlanta might be a problem next season. Yeah. I don't think that they're a Super Bowl type of problem, but I think that they are oh shit, how did they end up in the AFC Championship?
A little Detroit-esque.
Yeah.
Dude, Atlanta Detroit championship game would be absurd.
That'd be sick. Doesn't matter. They'll go to play the Chiefs. So
give me Indy, Cincy, Atlanta, and Detroit in the championship.
Yeah, either one.
Had to throw in Cincy in there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Hey, my sleeper team is going to be the Steelers. Obviously, let Russ cook.
Let Russ cook.
He's gonna regress back.
MVP
season.
No,
5,500 yards.
No, we posted on fuck that. We posted on Twitter the fact that you do not believe in Russell Wilson. So let it be on record right now. Tanner does not believe in Russell Wilson. Do not let him bullshit you. He does not like or believe in Russell Wilson. He thought that he is the same quarterback as Mason Rudolph. I edited that clip myself on my PTO for this shit.
I think that's a very strong final statement for this episode, Jordan.
Yeah.
Let's keep it on record that Tanner does not like Russell Wilson.
Let's keep it on record that Tanner does not like Russell Wilson. Yes. Thank y'all, everyone, for joining in on today's podcast. We greatly appreciate y'all for hanging out. We'll talk about the top 3 signings that we're most excited about in their new spot next week. I think that'll be a really good first segment before we dive into our fan base fiasco stuff. But yeah, I think that I agree, Danny. That is the perfect note to end on. Tanner does not believe in Russell Wilson. Do not let him lie to you. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next week.
Steelers going to Super Bowl.
Well, I like school, and I like football. gonna keep doing them both because they make me feel good.